Hello, brothers and sisters. Today is May the 2nd, and today is such a beautiful night. The moon is so bright, and the air is fresh. It's beautiful. I wanted to talk to you about faith, something that God has definitely been talking to me lately in different ways. I feel like as human beings, we tend to make decisions or feel a certain way based on what's going on. Based on what's happening, based on what we see, we tend to make decisions and get discouraged. If God has promised you something, that means no matter what you see, no matter what happens, if God already promised you something, that's what is going to happen. And you have to stay firm. You have to believe, because God is not a liar. When God says something, he will do it. And the devil, many times, always, when he sees that the promise is coming, he will try to put things in front of you that will discourage you, to just make you give up. Like if God promised you something and it's just right down the corner, the devil sees it coming, so he's gonna do whatever he can to make you just give up and be like, you know what, I give up. But this is the time to stand firm and to pray, okay? Remember, there's nothing you can do or say, nothing at all, for the promise to get here. God has control of when it's going to come, when it's going to happen. He is preparing your heart. He is preparing my heart to receive that blessing, to receive that promise. Okay? So, but in order for that to happen, we have to be obedient. And there's many things that God is going to tell you to give up in order to prepare for that promise. There's going to be many things that God is going to say, you know what? I want you to let go of certain friendships, of certain things that maybe make you feel better at the moment, because especially like the women or men who are standing, they might have friends here and there of the opposite sex who, you know, when you talk to them, you probably feel good and happy because you don't feel alone. But if you're waiting for a prodigal, that means you have to be faithful even when they're not here yet. So that means you have to let go of certain friendships. And this is a season when, you know, you're gonna feel maybe a little bit more lonelier because you're not talking to anybody. But that means, okay, you let go of someone, a friend that's not supposed to be there. But you need to get closer to God and seek him and listen to worship and pray. And I mean, it's not about being religious at all, but with me, like, I felt like I was so codependent. Like I always had to have like friends around, or I could never be alone. Like back when I was younger, before I was married, you know, I was always in relationships. Like there was never a time where I was single, and this was because I could never be alone. But now God has taught me, you know what, Ashley, it's okay to be single. It's okay to be alone, especially in this season that I'm waiting for my husband. I'm learning to be codependent with God only, not with anything or anyone in my life but God. And it takes time. I'm not going to say, oh, it's the easiest thing to do. It's hard. It's hard, but God has been doing a work in my heart for the longest time. He definitely has stripped certain things away from my life, stripped away pride, because no one's perfect. No one's perfect. We all make mistakes, but as long as you want to change, as long as you don't want to be that same person anymore, and you want a brand new heart, that's when God can do that change in your life. When you have an open heart and you're like, God, I give up. I don't want to do this anymore on my own. You're the only one who can help me. This is when God can step in and do what he has to do, but you have to let go. And it's already been almost 3 years since I've been standing for my marriage. It's been one of the hardest things ever in my life. But throughout these almost 3 years, I feel like I've grown more spiritually. I've learned to depend more on God. And God told me, you know what? I want you to stand for your marriage. Because there was a point in my life when me and my husband split up that I loved him, but I couldn't deal with this anymore. So I did want to get divorced. But then God spoke to me and he said, you know what? Don't do things based on your emotions. Don't do things based on how you feel. You need to wait on me, and I will do it. I will do it when it's the right time. And throughout these